Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Meridian, watching the stars through the main screen. His ship had been traveling for 3 weeks, following a strange signal from the edge of known space. The signal was weak, but clear. Someone or something was calling for help. "Captain, we're getting close to the source," said Amy Foster from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young woman with bright eyes and quick fingers on the controls. "The signal is coming from just ahead." Jake nodded. "Good work, Amy. Dr. Hayes, are you ready if we find survivors?" Dr. Linda Hayes looked up from her medical scanner. She was a calm woman who had seen many emergencies in space. "My medical bay is ready, Captain. Whatever we find out there, I can handle it." Ryan Carter, the security chief, checked his weapon for the 10th time. He was a big man with strong arms and a serious face. "Captain, something feels wrong about this. Signal has been going for weeks, but no other ships have answered." "Why are we the first ones here?" Jake thought about Ryan's words. His friend. It was right to be careful. In space, when something seemed too easy, it usually was. But people might be dying out there. They had to try. "Keep scanning, Amy. Look for ships, stations, anything that could be sending that signal." Amy's hands moved. Over her controls, her face went pale. "Captain, I'm picking up something big. Really big. It's not the source of the distress signal, though. Something else entirely." Before Jake could ask what she meant, the space around them filled with light. Huge ships appeared from nowhere, surrounding the Meridian like wolves around a sheep. The ships were strange, covered in spikes and glowing with red light. They were twice the size of any human ship Jake had ever seen. "Red alert," Jake called out. "Amy, try to contact them. Maybe we can talk." Amy tried to send a message, but before she could finish, a voice filled the bridge. It was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "Small meat ship, you will stop. Your engines, you will prepare to be boarded. Resistance will bring pain." Jake looked at his crew. They were scared, but they were ready to fight if needed. "This is Captain Morrison of the human ship Meridian. We're on a rescue mission. We mean no harm." Laughter filled the bridge. It was cold and cruel. "Humans. We have never heard of your kind. You look soft and weak. Your ship is tiny. Your weapons are like toys. You will come aboard our ship as prisoners." Ryan stepped forward. "Captain, my security team is ready. We won't go quietly." Jake wanted to fight too, but he could see the enemy ships on his screen. There were 12 of them each. One massive. Fighting would only get his crew killed. "We'll cooperate for now," Jake said quietly, "but stay ready." The alien ships moved closer. A bright beam shot out from the largest ship and grabbed the Meridian. Jake felt his ship being pulled toward the alien vessel like a fish on a line. "Fascinating," Dr. Hayes said, looking at her scanner. "The technology they're using is incredible. That tractor beam is more advanced than anything Earth has." 20 minutes later, the Meridian was inside the alien ship. The cargo bay was huge, big enough to hold 50 human ships. Strange creatures moved around in the shadows. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, but they were much taller. Others crawled on 4 legs or slithered like snakes. The airlock opened, and aliens poured onto the Meridian. They were wearing armor that looked like metal scales. Their faces were long and narrow, with yellow eyes and sharp teeth. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The leader of the aliens was taller than the others. His armor was covered in strange symbols. When he spoke, his voice was the same one they had heard before. "I am War Commander Zephin of the Skarn race. You are now prisoners of the Kethver Empire. You will come with us. Your ship will be studied." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Captain Morrison. These are my people. We were trying to help someone who sent a distress signal." Zephin looked at Jake like he was looking at an insect. "The distress signal was bait, soft skin. We use it to catch new species for our scientists to study." "You walked into our trap like children," Amy gasped. "It was all fake. There was no one who needed help." "Clever little meat," Zephin said with another laugh. "Your kind must be very stupid to fall for such a simple trick." Ryan couldn't stand it anymore. He moved fast, trying to grab one of the alien weapons, but the aliens were ready for him. 3 of them jumped on Ryan at once. They were much stronger than any human. Ryan fought hard, but it was like a child fighting grown men. One alien hit Ryan in the chest with something that looked like a metal rod. Jake heard bones break. Ryan fell to the ground, blood coming from his mouth. In the side, more bones broke. "Stop it," Dr. Hayes shouted. She ran toward Ryan, but an alien grabbed her arm and held her back. Jake tried to help his friend. The two aliens pointed their weapons at him. "Move and your friend dies faster," Zephyr said. Ryan was still breathing, but barely. His chest was caved in, and his left arm was bent at a wrong angle. Blood pooled under him on the metal floor. Salhan looked down at Ryan and shook his head. "See how weak you are? One of our younglings could have taken more punishment than this. Your friend will be dead in hours. This is why your species will never be strong." Dr. Hayes was allowed to kneel beside Ryan. She checked his injuries with her hands, trying not to show how worried she was. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding, a shattered arm, and probably a punctured lung. On Earth, Ryan would need major surgery to survive. Out here with limited supplies, his chances were almost 0. "Please," Jake said to Zephyr, "let my doctor. Help him. He's dying." "That is what weak creatures do," Zephyr replied. "They die when they are hurt. In the Kethra Empire, only the strong survive. Your friend was not strong." The aliens forced Jake, Amy, and Dr. Hayes to carry Ryan to a prison cell deep inside the alien ship. The cell was small and dark, with walls made of some kind of black metal. There was no furniture, just a hard floor and a small hole in one corner that served as a toilet. Dr. Hayes did what she could for Ryan with the few medical supplies the aliens let her keep. She gave him something for the pain and tried to stop the bleeding. But without proper equipment, there wasn't much she could do. "How long does he have?" Jake asked quietly. "Without surgery? Maybe 12 hours, probably less," Dr. Hayes said. Her voice was sad but calm. She had lost patients before, but never like this. Amy sat in the corner, crying softly. She was young and had never seen violence like this before. "Why did they hurt him so badly?" "He was just trying to protect us." "Because they wanted to show us how weak we are," Jake said. "They wanted to break our spirit before they even started studying us." Outside their cell, they could hear aliens talking in their rough language. Sometimes one would laugh, and Jake knew they were talking about the weak humans and their dying friend. Dr. Hayes stayed by Ryan's side, checking his pulse and breathing. His heartbeat was getting weaker. His breathing was shallow and painful. By all rights, he should already be dead. "I'm sorry, Ryan," Jake whispered. "I should have listened to you. You knew something was wrong." Ryan opened his eyes for a moment. His voice was barely a whisper. "Not your fault, Captain. Came here to help people. That's who we are." Then Ryan closed his eyes again, and his breathing became even more shallow. Dr. Hayes checked her watch. It had been 6 hours since the beating. Soon the aliens would have one more reason to laugh at human weakness. 3 days had passed since the beating. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the corner of their prison cell, staring at something that made no sense. Ryan Carter was sitting up against the wall, talking quietly with Dr. Hayes about escape plans. This should have been impossible. Jake remembered how Ryan had looked 3 days ago. Blood everywhere, bones sticking out wrong, breathing like a broken machine. Dr. Hayes had said 12 hours at most. Jake had prepared himself to watch his friend die, but Ryan was alive. More than alive. He was getting better, Dr. Hayes whispered, looking at her medical scanner for the 100th time. "Your ribs have healed completely. The internal bleeding stopped 2 days ago. Your arm is almost normal again." Ryan flexed his left arm, the one that had been shattered. "It feels good as new, Doc. Maybe even stronger than before." Amy Foster looked up from where she had been, scratching marks on the wall to count the days. "The aliens don't know, do they? They haven't checked on us since the first day." Jake shook his head. "They think Ryan is dead, or close to it. They're waiting for us to start begging them to take his body away." On the first day, alien scientists had come to study them. They were different from the warriors who had captured them. These aliens were smaller, with big eyes and thin fingers. They carried strange devices that beeped and flashed when pointed at the humans. The lead scientist was called Vexstar. He had pale green skin and spoke in a higher voice than the warriors. He had looked at Ryan lying on the floor and made notes. on a device that looked like a glowing tablet. Interesting, Vexstar had said. The injured specimen shows massive trauma. It's broken bones, internal damage, blood loss. By our calculations, it should expire within 2 of your day cycles. Dr. Hayes had tried to help Ryan while the aliens watched. They seemed curious about human medicine, but they also seemed sure it wouldn't work. Your healing methods are primitive, another scientist had said. Not repair such damage with those simple tools. The creature will die, and we will study the body. They had left after that, saying they would return when the specimen stopped breathing. But now, 3 days later, Ryan was not only alive, but almost completely healed. Jake could hardly believe what he was seeing. How is this possible? Jake asked Dr. Hayes. She sat down beside them, her face showing wonder and confusion. I've been thinking about this for 3 days. Back on Earth, we always knew humans healed faster than most animals. A cut that takes a horse weeks to heal might only take us days. But I never thought about how fast that really is. What do you mean? Amy asked. Think about it. These aliens have traveled between stars for thousands of years. They've conquered 12 different species. But they were shocked by how quickly Ryan is healing. That means most life in the galaxy heals much slower than we do. Ryan touched his chest where the ribs had been broken. So we're not weak. We're different. Maybe we're stronger in a way they don't understand, Dr. Hayes said. They think strength is about not getting hurt in the first place. But what if real strength is about bouncing back from being hurt? Jake began to understand. So when they beat you up, they expected you to stay beaten. When you didn't die, when you started healing, it broke their understanding of how things work. Exactly, Dr. Hayes said. And if I'm right about this, it changes everything. I think they've captured weak prisoners who will be easy to control, but we might be tougher than they realize. Outside their cell, they could hear aliens talking. Jake couldn't understand the words, but the tone was different from the first day. The aliens sounded confused, maybe even worried. Amy pressed her ear to the door. I wish I could understand what they're saying. You're probably wondering why they haven't heard us crying over Ryan's body yet, Jake said. Dr. Hayes was looking at her scanner again. There's something else. Ryan, your muscle mass has increased. Your bone density is higher than it was before. It's like your body didn't just heal the damage. It made itself stronger to prevent the same damage from happening again. Ryan looked. At his hands, they did look bigger, more solid. I feel stronger. When they hit me, it was like being crushed by a machine. But now I think I could hit back. Don't get cocky, Jake warned. They still have weapons and armor. But this information could be useful. The next day, the alien scientists returned. Vexstar led the group, carrying his glowing tablet. Behind him were 3 other scientists and 2 guards. They all stopped when they saw Ryan sitting up and talking. Impossible, Vexstar said in his high voice. The specimen should be dead. Our scans showed fatal injuries. Ryan stood up slowly. The alien stepped back, was taller than he had been before, broader in the shoulders. The changes were small, but they were there. Low, Ryan said with a smile that wasn't friendly. Miss me? Vexstar made excited noises and pointed his scanner at Ryan. The device beeped faster than before. Extraordinary. The bone structure has not only healed, but improved. Muscle development beyond baseline, this should not be possible. One of the other scientists, a creature that looked like a walking stick with too many eyes, spoke up. Perhaps our initial scans were wrong. Perhaps the injuries were not as severe as we thought, No, Vexstar said, shaking his head. I have the recordings. This creature was dying, though it appears healthier than when we first captured it. Doctor. Hayes decided to speak up. We tried to tell you. Humans are tougher than we look. Vexstar turned to her with his big eyes wide. You are the medical practitioner, yes? Explain this healing. What techniques did you use? What medicines? I didn't do anything special, Dr. Hayes said honestly. I just kept him comfortable, while his body fixed itself. That's what human bodies do. Impossible, the stick-like alien said. Healing rates across all known species follow established patterns. Severe trauma requires extensive medical intervention. In long recovery periods, some injuries never heal properly. Me spoke up from her corner. How long does it take your people to heal from broken bones? Vexstar looked at his tablet. Bone fractures require 60 to 90-day cycles for basic healing. Full strength returns after 200 cycles, if at all. The humans looked at each other. Ryan's bones had healed completely in 3 days. That meant humans healed at least 20 times faster than these aliens. No wonder you thought we were weak, Jake said. If someone from your species got hurt like Ryan did, they'd be crippled for life if they survived at all. But we heal fast, Ryan said, flexing his rebuilt arm. So fast that what you think of as a life-ending injury is just a bad week for us. Vexstar was making rapid notes on his tablet. This changes our understanding completely. If humans can recover from severe trauma in days rather than months, then your military capabilities are far greater than we calculated. One of the guards stepped forward and said something in the alien language. It sounded like a question. Vexstar answered, then turned back to the humans. War Commander Zephyr will want to know about this immediately. If your species can heal this rapidly, you represent a significant threat to the Empire. Threat. Asked, we're explorers, not conquerors. Psst, said. But species that cannot be permanently damaged make poor slaves and dangerous enemies. The aliens left quickly, talking excitedly among themselves. Jake could tell they were scared now, not just curious. Well, Ryan said, sitting back down. I guess the secret's out. Dr. Hayes was thinking hard. This explains so much about human history. Why we survived ice ages and plagues that killed off other species. Why we could fight wars for years and keep going. We don't just survive disasters. We come back stronger. Amy looked worried. But what happens now? They see us as a threat. Stood up and walked to the small window in their cell. Outside, he could see alien ships moving around and aliens running between them. Everyone looked busy and worried. Now, Jake said, we find out if being hard to kill is enough to keep us alive. War Commander Zephyr stood in the center of the great arena, his yellow eyes fixed on the human prisoners. The arena was huge, big enough to hold 1,000 aliens in the seats around the fighting floor. The walls were covered in spikes and stained. With the blood of countless battles, today we will test these soft-skinned humans, Zephyr announced to the crowd. His voice echoed through the arena. We will see if their strange healing makes them warriors or just harder to kill prey. Captain. Jake Morrison looked around at the alien crowd. There were hundreds of them, all different species from across the Kethfer Empire. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking rocks, and some like nothing he had ever seen before. They all had one thing in common. They wanted to see humans die. This is insane, Amy Foster whispered. She was pale and shaking. They're going to make us fight for their entertainment. Dr. Hayes put her hand on Amy's shoulder. Stay calm. We knew this might happen when they found out about Ryan's healing. Ryan Carter stood at the front of their group. He looked different now, bigger and stronger than before his beating. His eyes were calm, but Jake could see the anger underneath. Who fights first? Zephyr called out. I do, Ryan said, stepping forward. I'm the security chief. This is my job. Zephyr laughed, showing his sharp teeth. The one who was dying 3 days ago wants to fight. This should be amusing. The arena floor was covered in sand that had turned red from old blood. Strange weapons hung on racks around the walls. Some looked like swords, others like clubs with spikes. And some were things Jake couldn't identify. A gate on the far side of the arena opened with a loud clang. Out stepped Ryan's opponent, and Jake felt his heart sink. The creature was 8 feet tall and covered in muscles. It had 4 arms, each one as thick as Ryan's leg. Its skin looked like armor plating, and its face was just a mouthful of teeth. Is Krex the Destroyer, Zephyr announced. He has killed 47 opponents in this arena. He has never been defeated. The crowd cheered and made horrible noises. Jake could see aliens placing bets on how long Ryan would last. Most seemed to think it would be less than a minute. You may choose a weapon, Zephyr told Ryan. Ryan walked to the weapon rack and looked at the choices. He picked up something that looked like a sword, but it was heavier than he expected. He put it back and chose instead a simple metal rod about 3 feet long. That's all? Zephyr asked. Against Krex, you choose a stick? I don't need much, Ryan said. The crowd laughed at this. Even some of the slaves who were forced to serve in the arena shook their heads. They had seen too many fighters die to believe. This small human had a chance. A horn blasted, and the fight began. Krex moved faster than something that big should be able to move. His forearms swung at Ryan like hammers. Ryan barely dodged the first attack, then had to roll away from the second. One of Krex's fists hit the arena floor and left a crack in the stone. He's too big, Amy whispered. Ryan can't win. But Jake was watching more carefully. Ryan was not trying to win quickly. He was learning. Each time Krex attacked, Ryan moved. A little better, dodged a little easier. Krex grabbed Ryan with two of his arms and lifted him off the ground. The crowd cheered as the big alien squeezed. Jake heard Ryan's ribs crack from where he was sitting, but instead of trying to escape, Ryan used his metal rod like a spear. He drove it into the soft spot under Krex's arm. Green blood sprayed out, and Krex roared in pain. He threw Ryan across the arena. Ryan hit the wall hard and fell to the sand. His left shoulder looked wrong, and blood ran from his mouth. The crowd cheered, thinking the fight was over. Krex walked over to finish him off. But as he reached down, Ryan rolled away and got back to his feet. His shoulder was already moving better, and the blood had stopped flowing from his mouth. It's possible. Someone in the crowd shouted, "He should be broken." Krex attacked again, this time more carefully. He had learned that the human was tougher than he looked. But Ryan had learned too. He was faster now, and he seemed to know where Krex would attack before Krex did. The fight went on for 10 minutes, then 20, then 30. Krex was getting tired, but Ryan seemed to be getting stronger. Every time Krex hurt him, Ryan healed and came back harder to hurt. A deep cut across Ryan's chest closed up while he fought. A broken finger straightened itself out. When Krex smashed Ryan's knee, Ryan limped for maybe 2 minutes before the leg worked perfectly again. The crowd was getting quiet. This was not what they expected to see. In every other fight, the loser got weaker until they could not continue. But this human was doing the opposite. "What is happening?" an alien in the crowd asked. "Why does he not stay down?" Jake could see fear starting to spread through the audience. They were watching something that broke their understanding of how fights worked. Krex was breathing hard now. Green blood dripped from dozens of small wounds that Ryan had given him. The big alien's movements were getting slower and sloppier. Ryan, on the other hand, looked almost fresh. His clothes were torn and bloody, but his body underneath was unmarked. Every wound had healed, leaving him ready to fight more. The end came. Suddenly, Krex made one last desperate attack, throwing all 4 arms at Ryan at once. But he was too tired to do it right. Ryan stepped aside and drove his metal rod deep into Krex's chest. The big alien fell to his knees, then onto his face. He did not get up. The arena was completely silent. No one cheered. No one made any noise at all. They just watched a small, soft-looking human defeat their greatest champion. The human looked like he could fight again right away. Walked back to where his friends were sitting. He was smiling, but Jake could see the tiredness in his eyes. "How do you feel?" Dr. Hayes asked quietly. "Good," Ryan said. "Better than good. It's like my body learned how to fight him while we were fighting." Zephin stood up from his seat. His face showed shock and something that might have been fear. This is not possible. No creature heals that fast during combat. But it was not just the healing that had scared the crowd. It was what the healing meant. Ryan had been able to take risks that would kill any other fighter. He could trade blow for blow with a much stronger opponent because he knew his injuries would heal and his opponents would not. In the slave sections of the arena, Jake could see aliens whispering to each other. These were the conquered species, the ones who served the Kethver Empire because they had no choice. They were looking at Ryan with something Jake had not expected to see. Hope, an old alien who looked like a walking tree, leaned over to another. "Slave, did you see? The human could not be stopped. Even when hurt, he became stronger." "If they cannot be broken," whispered another, "then perhaps we cannot be kept broken either." Word was spreading through the arena faster than fire. The humans were not just tough, There was something new, something the Kethfer had never faced before. An enemy that got stronger when hurt, that could not be worn down or defeated by damage. Zephyr called for guards to take the humans back to their cell. But as they left, Jake could hear the whispers following them. The slaves were talking about the human who would not stay beaten. They were talking about what that might mean for all of them. Back in their cell, Ryan sat down heavily. The fight had taken more out of him than he had shown. "That was incredible," Amy said. "You won against something twice your size." "I didn't just win," Ryan said quietly. "I changed their whole understanding of what winning means." "Did you see their faces? They're scared now." Dr. Hayes was scanning Ryan with her medical device. "Your muscle density has increased again. Your reflexes are faster. It's like fighting Krex made you better at fighting." Jake looked out the small window of their cell. He could see groups of aliens talking together, some excited, some worried. The Kethfer warriors looked confused and angry. The slaves looked different than before. "What happens now?" Amy asked. Now, Jake said, "We find out if being impossible to defeat is enough to start a revolution." Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the enemy fleet through her main screen. Behind her, 23 human warships waited for her orders. They had traveled 3 weeks at maximum speed after receiving Amy Foster's message. "Ma'am, we count 48 alien vessels," reported Lieutenant Bobby Chen from his scanning station. "They're big, but their weapons look old compared to ours." Kate nodded. She was a small woman with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen too many battles. "Any word from Captain Morrison's ship?" "The Meridian is inside that big ship at the center of their formation," said Commander Lisa Park, pointing at the largest alien vessel. "Can't get through to them, but our scans show human life signs." Kate studied the enemy ships. They were arranged in a perfect battle line, like ships from centuries ago. Human ships moved in small groups, hitting fast and moving away. These aliens fought like they had all the time in the world. "They're not used to fighting enemies who can take damage and keep fighting," Kate said. "Let's show them how humans really fight." "All ships attack pattern, Charlie. Hit them hard and don't worry about getting hurt. They can fix our ships." "Let's see if they can." The human fleet split into 6 groups and attacked from different directions. The alien ships tried to turn to face them, but human ships were faster and more flexible. The space battle was loud and bright. Energy beams cut through the darkness between ships. Explosions lit up the void like deadly fireworks. Human ships took hits that would have destroyed most vessels, but they kept fighting. The USS Manchester took a direct hit that blew a hole in its side. Any other species would have pulled back for repairs. Instead, the Manchester kept firing, while its crew worked to patch the damage. "Admiral," came a voice over the radio, "this is Captain Sam Rodriguez on the Manchester. We've lost main power and half our weapons, but we're still in the fight." "Good work, Sam," Kate replied. "Emergency teams are standing by to help with repairs." This was what the aliens could not understand. Human battle tactics were built around the idea that damage was temporary, ships could be fixed, people could heal, but victory was forever. On the Kethfer flagship, Corps Commander Zephyr watched his perfect battle line fall apart. Human ships attacked like angry insects, taking hits that should have stopped them but continuing to fight. "How are they still fighting?" he demanded of his science officer. "That small ship has been hit 6 times. It should be destroyed." "Do not understand it either, Commander," the science officer replied. "Their ships seem to be designed to take damage and continue operating. This is not logical." Zephyr was beginning to understand that these humans were not like any enemy he had faced before. His empire conquered by being stronger and tougher than everyone else. But the humans fought like they were not afraid of being hurt. Down in the 8 prison cells, Captain Jake Morrison felt the ship shake from weapons fire. "That's human weapons," he said with a smile. "The cavalry has arrived." Ryan Carter was pacing in their small cell like a caged animal. "We need to get out of here and help them." "How?" Amy Foster asked. "The door is locked and there are guards." Outside, Dr. Hayes was working on something in the corner. She had been taking apart her medical scanner for parts. "I might have an idea." These aliens design their technology like they design their tactics. Strong, but not flexible. She had rewired her scanner to send out a different kind of signal. She pointed it at the door lock. The lock made a clicking sound and opened. "Did you do that?" Jake asked. "Their security is designed to stop someone from breaking the lock," Dr. Hayes explained. "But not from convincing the lock that it should open normally. Their technology is powerful but not very smart." The four humans crept out of their cell. The corridor was empty except for one guard who was watching the battle through a window. Ryan moved silently behind the guard and put his arm around the alien's neck. The guard struggled for a moment, then went limp. "Which way to the bridge?" Jake asked. Amy checked the alien ship's layout on a wall display. Up 3 levels and toward the front of the ship.
Ow.
They moved carefully through the ship. Most of the aliens were busy with the battle, so the corridors were nearly empty. They did meet aliens. Ryan dealt with them quickly and quietly, but they were not the only ones moving through the ship. In the slave quarters, something amazing was happening. An old alien named Gorak had served the Kethfer for 60 years. It was from the Nara species, a peaceful people who had been conquered when he was young. He had given up hope of freedom long ago, but he had been in the arena when Ryan fought Krex. He had seen the human refuse to stay beaten. Now, as explosions shook the ship, he made a decision. "Brothers," he called to the other slaves, "the humans have come for their people. They fight like they cannot be stopped. Perhaps this is our chance, but we are weak," said another slave. "The Kethfer will kill us if we rebel." "Yes, we heal slowly," Gorak agreed. "Yes, we are not strong fighters. But there are 10 of us. For every one of them. And now, we have allies who cannot be kept down." Throughout the ship, slaves were making the same choice. Kitchen workers grabbed knives. Maintenance crews picked up tools that could be weapons. Engineers who knew how the ship worked began to sabotage critical systems. The uprising was not well planned or well armed, but it was huge. Thousands of slaves across dozens of ships began to fight back at the same time. On the bridge of the Kethvar flagship, alarms started going off everywhere. Commander and officer reported, "We have rebellions breaking out all across the fleet. The slaves are attacking our crews." Zephan roared in anger. "This is impossible. The slaves are broken. They've been beaten down for generations." "The humans, sir?" the science officer said quietly. The slaves saw what happened in the arena. They saw that some beings cannot be permanently defeated. Jake and his team reached the bridge just as chaos was breaking out. Through the windows, they could see the space battle continuing. Human ships were still taking damage, but they kept fighting. Some alien ships were starting to drift powerless as their slave crews sabotaged them from within. Called out as they entered the bridge, Ryan and the others spread out to cover the alien officers. Zephan turned to face them. His yellow eyes were full of rage and fear. "You have destroyed everything. The order of the galaxy, a piece of the Yi Empire. Your empire was built on enslaving people who couldn't fight back," Jake said. "That ends today." "You think your healing makes you gods?" Zephan hissed. "You think you cannot be defeated?" "No," Ryan said, stepping forward. "You think that being defeated isn't the same as being beaten. Every time you knock us down, we get back up. And every time we get back up, we're a little bit stronger." Through the bridge windows, they could see that the space battle was turning. More alien ships were going dark as their crews were overwhelmed by rebelling slaves. The remaining Kethfer ships were trying to retreat, but human ships were faster. On the ship's communication system, voices were calling out in dozens of different languages. Slave species that had not spoken freely in generations were calling to each other, coordinating their rebellion, sharing hope. "This is Captain Sarah Kim of the U.S. Phoenix," came a voice over the radio. "Okay. We're receiving surrender signals from multiple alien ships. Looks like their crews are turning against their officers." Zephan looked around his bridge, seeing his empire crumble in real time. "You have no idea what you have unleashed. Without the empire, this sector will fall into chaos." "Maybe," Jake said. "But it will be free chaos, not slave order." Dr. Hayes was working at one of the bridge stations. "I'm accessing their communication network. There are slave rebellions happening on over 300 ships across their entire fleet." Amy was monitoring the human fleet. Admiral Sullivan is requesting to speak with us. Jake took the communication device. Admiral, this is Captain Morrison. We're on the enemy flagship, and we have control of their bridge. Good work. Captain Kate's voice came through clearly. What's the situation over there? The HFY Empire is falling apart, ma'am. The slaves are rebelling everywhere. I think we just accidentally started a galactic revolution. Well, Kate said with a laugh. I guess that's what happens when you mess with humans. We don't just fight back. We inspire others to fight back too. On screens throughout the bridge, they could see the results of the battle. Human ships, many of them damaged but still fighting, were accepting the surrender of alien vessels. Slave species were broadcasting messages of freedom to their homeworlds. The HFY Empire, which had controlled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years, was collapsing in a single day, and it had all started because they thought humans were too weak to be dangerous. 3 months after the fall of the HFY Empire, Admiral Kate Sullivan walked through the halls of New Hope Station. The station had once been the capital of the alien empire, but now it served as the headquarters for something completely different. Representatives from 43 different species worked together in rooms that had once held only HFY rulers. Kate stopped at a window that looked out into space. Ships from dozens of worlds moved in and out of the station. Human vessels worked alongside alien craft, sharing technology and knowledge. It was not perfect, but it was free. Admiral, the morning briefing is ready, said Commander Lisa Park, walking up beside her. Many new requests for protection today, Kate asked. 17 worlds have asked to join the Outer Rim Defense Alliance, Lisa replied. Most of them are former HFY slave colonies. They want human ships to help protect them from the remaining Empire forces. Kate nodded. The HFY Empire had not died completely. Some ships had escaped the rebellion and were still fighting from hidden bases. But they were no longer the power they had been. They were just another group of raiders now. It's dangerous, but not unstoppable. The real change was in how the galaxy thought about war itself, in the medical section of the station. Dr. Linda Hayes worked with a team of doctors from 6 different species. Today they were treating injured fighters from a recent battle against HFY raiders. The wound is deep, but not life-threatening for a human, Dr. Hayes told her alien colleague, Dr. Marin, from the insect-like Zilthic species. He'll be back on duty in a week. Dr. Marin's compound eyes showed amazement. On my world, such a wound would require months of healing. A soldier would never fight again. That's why we're here, Dr. Hayes said, cleaning the human patient's wound. We're teaching your people our medical techniques, and you're teaching us about different types of biology. Together, we can help everyone heal faster. The medical exchange program had been Dr. Hayes' idea. Humans shared their knowledge of rapid healing and emergency medicine. In return, alien doctors taught humans about diseases and injuries that didn't exist on Earth. The result was medical care that was better for everyone. Dr. Hayes called a young Nara medic named Tira. Could you look at this patient? His injuries are healing, but not in the normal way. Dr. Hayes looked at the patient, a Skarn warrior who had been fighting against his own former empire. His wounds were closing faster than usual for his species. Interesting, Dr. Hayes said. Have you been working with human soldiers recently? The Skarn nodded. I fight alongside human marines. I watch them take wounds that should stop any warrior, then keep fighting. I tell myself, if soft humans can do this, so can I. Dr. Hayes smiled. This was happening more and more. Alien soldiers who fought beside humans were healing faster than normal. It was not physical, it was mental. When beings stopped thinking of injuries as permanent defeats, their bodies seemed to respond better. It's like courage is contagious, Dr. Hayes told Tira. When someone sees that wounds don't have to end the fight, they become stronger too. Across the station, in the training center, Ryan Carter worked with the most unusual military unit in the galaxy. His students included rock-like beings who could take huge amounts of damage, quick insect creatures who could dodge almost anything, and even a few former HFY soldiers who had switched sides. Remember, Ryan told the mixed group, the goal is not to avoid getting hurt. The goal is to complete the mission. Injuries heal. Missions lost stay lost. A young Nara soldier raised his hand. But Instructor Carter, my people are not like humans. You do not heal quickly. No, you don't, Ryan agreed. But you're brave, and you're smart, and there are a lot of you. Work together. cover for each other. One of you gets hurt, the others carry on until he can rejoin the fight. Ryan had learned that human-style fighting could be adapted to other species. They couldn't heal like humans, but they could fight like humans. Take acceptable risks, except that some damage was worth the victory. The mixed species units were proving surprisingly effective against the remaining Kethver forces. The aliens fought with human determination but alien advantages. It was a combination the old Empire had no answer for. In the command center, Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Commodore, met with the leaders of the new alliance. The table was crowded with beings of all shapes and sizes. Some breathed the same air as humans, others wore breathing equipment or sat in tanks of special gas. The Kethver attacked 3 more worlds this week, reported General Kex, a former slave soldier who now led the Zilthic Defense Forces. But our response was faster. Human ships reached the first world in 6 hours. The attackers were driven off with heavy losses. Any of our people hurt? Jake asked. 7 humans wounded, 3 seriously, General Kex replied. They will all return to duty within days. Also, 42 alien personnel wounded, but our new medical techniques have cut healing time in half. Jake was proud of what they had built. The Outer Rim Defense Alliance was not an empire. No one species ruled over the others. Each world kept its freedom but agreed to help defend the others. What about the former Kethver capital world? Asked Elder Gorak, the old Nara, who had started the slave rebellion. Have they agreed to join us? Not yet, Jake said. We're still dealing with civil war between those who want to join us and those who want to rebuild the empire. Give them time, said Amy Foster, who now served as the Alliance's chief diplomat. Freedom is hard for people who have been slaves for generations, but it's even harder for people who have been masters. Amy had discovered she had a gift for understanding different species and helping them work together. She had negotiated the treaties that turned former enemies into allies. There is one more thing, General Keck said. Our scouts report that word of the Alliance has spread beyond this sector. Other species in distant parts of the galaxy are sending messages. They want to know if the stories about humans are true. What stories? Jake asked. That humans cannot be kept down, that they make their allies stronger just by fighting beside them, that they have ended the age of empires and started the age of free worlds. Jake looked around the table at all the different faces. 3 months ago, most of these beings had been slaves. Now they were free leaders, making decisions about their own futures. The stories are true, Jake said, but they're not just about humans anymore. They're about all of us. That evening, Jake stood in the observation deck of New Hope Station. Through the transparent walls, he could see ships from dozens of worlds. Human children played with alien children in the recreation areas. Former enemies worked side by side in the workshops and laboratories. Ryan joined him at the window. His friend looked older but stronger. The scars from his arena fight had faded, but the confidence they had given him remained. Any regrets? Ryan asked. We came out here to explore and ended up starting a revolution. Jake thought about the question. 3 months ago, he had been the captain of an exploration ship. Now he was helping to reshape the galaxy. No regrets, Jake said. We did what humans do. We saw people who needed help, and we helped them. Even if it meant fighting an entire empire. Especially then, Jake replied. The Kethver thought strength meant never getting hurt. But real strength is getting hurt and helping others anyway. Through the window, they could see a human medical ship docking with the station. It carried doctors who would learn alien medicine and teach human healing techniques. Knowledge that would make everyone stronger. You know what the best part is? Ryan said. What's that? The aliens stopped laughing at human weakness. Now they're trying to figure out how to be weak like us. Jake smiled. It was true. Across the galaxy, species were learning that being tough enough to take damage was better than being so fragile you had to avoid it. Being willing to get hurt for others was better than being too scared to fight at all. The age of empires was ending. The age of alliances was beginning. And it all started because some aliens made the mistake of thinking that healing fast meant you were weak. They had learned the truth too late. Humans weren't weak because they got hurt easily. Humans were strong because they got back up anyway.